Well, good morning. It's been a while since we've talked about Premiere Pro and done any tutorials, so I thought today we'd talk a little bit about transitions. We've all seen these fancy transitions that can happen in between clips and videos that are out there, so here's an example. So you may be wondering, how can I do these and how much time is it going to take to do this? And I'm going to show you some tips and tricks in Premiere Pro about how to create these transitions more easily perhaps, or quicker than you thought. It's not as difficult as maybe it might seem. So I want to show you a little bit about how, at least in Premiere Pro, which is the tool that I primarily use, how you can create a transition that's basically called the smooth push. So let's jump to it and I'll show you that. Okay. So what we have here we have just 4 regular clips, right? So these are just normal clips that we've put together, nothing special about them. They're mostly static shots. And we're going to grab an effect out there under video transitions, which you can just type in push and find it, but there's an effect called push. You're going to grab that and place it in between your clips, and you'll see that what it basically does is slide from one picture to the next. It pushes one over from the other. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the direction. So you can just come under the effects control panel and click this checkbox and it'll change the direction. So now you can see we're going kind of the other direction. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to shorten this up. So what's happening is we want this transition to happen pretty quickly, right? From one clip to the next. But the problem is right at this transition you've got this hard line that's here. So we're going to soften that up a little bit. And the way that we do that is with an adjustment layer, which you can create by going to New Item, Adjustment Layer. And the adjustment layer is where we're going to apply some other things. So we're just going to drop that adjustment layer in there, and we're going to shorten it up so that it's just, let's say maybe a frame or two before and after our push function. And on that we're gonna add some blur, basically. So if we go to blur, we'll see this thing that's called a directional blur. So we're going to grab that directional blur effect and add it to our adjustment layer. And you'll see what that's going to do. If we come up here in our effects control panel, you'll see there's direction and there's blur length. So we're going to start by just looking at what it actually does. So I'm going to set a blur length of 90. And you'll see this just really blurs this out. But here's the issue. We're moving from left to right, and this blur is going vertically. So we're going to change the direction so that it's horizontal. So we're going to switch this to 90 degrees. And you'll see now how this is really, really blurry. The issue is that we want this transition to kind of move more softly into it and then back out of it. So what we can do is at the beginning of our adjustment layer, we can come in here with the blur length. And at the beginning of it, we're going to add a keyframe, and we're going to set the beginning to 0. And we're going to go to the middle of the clip and set that to 90. And then we're going to go to the end of the adjustment layer and set it back to 0. So in essence, what you see here is that the blur length is going from 0, ramping up to 90, and then back down to 0 again. And so here's what you get when you do that. Right? Moves through that fairly quickly. And if you want that to be faster, what you can do is remove this, shorten these up even more, shorten this one up just a little bit more as well. Go back into your adjustment layer. We'll get to the beginning of the adjustment layer, set our keyframe at 0, go to the middle, set it at 90. Go to the end, set it back to 0, and we've got that transition, right? So that happens pretty quickly now. At that point, you can do some things to make it look even better, right? So you can grab some sound effects. So here's a swoosh effect that everybody loves, a swoosh effect, right? That swoosh effect. So we can throw that in there and shorten that up a little bit so that it's right on top of that clip. And then we'll get a swoosh that comes in after that as well. In essence, that's the basics of how you create that sort of whip feel on a clip that's really not a whip feel. you're actually just blurring them together. And this works really good with any kind of a shot. I think the important thing to note here is, though, that this is great as long as it contributes to the overall story. But I think you got to be careful about abusing it too much. I think we are now seeing a trend where there's all these crazy blur and motion tactics and all of these whips and pans and effects, and I think they're nice in B-roll and things like that, but I think you gotta use them subtly, I think, or you're just sort of overdoing it a bit. But it's a great effect that everybody should know how to do, and it's really pretty easy, not real hard to do. So give it a try, see what you think, and here's what the finished product looks like again. So I hope that was a helpful tutorial for you Premiere Pro users. I hope that you can see that you can create something like this really easily in your videos. It doesn't take that much time. It's not going to add that much to your edit as far as time goes. And it gives it a little bit of a look to go between those transitions. The hard cuts can be good sometimes, but sometimes you want something that adds a little bit of a feeling of movement. So hope that's helpful. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.